Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Silvie, Celiz, and here you are for some love and relationship truth. Today I'm going to tell you why sex is not intimacy and intimacy is not sex, and that there's a big difference between both. I've heard in a lot of married couples that, we're not having sex anymore. They don't feel like they're having intimacy. And the first thing that comes up for me is intimacy is not sex, and sex is not intimacy, and not having sex is a completely different deal than not having intimacy. You can have sex and not have intimacy at all. You can have intimacy and not have sex at all. You can have both. I focus on living in a world where we can have both. However, I would say most important is to have the intimacy, because sex without intimacy, it's just sex. That you can get anywhere. But the intimacy is what keeps the relationship solid. It's what keeps the relationship and the sex at a deeper level, at a more connective level. It actually makes the lovemaking go from sex to lovemaking and all of it in between and all of it together and include everything. The intimacy is vital for the relationship to evolve and thrive. So let's break it down. Let's break it down what intimacy looks like, what it is. First, I'm going to say that relationships, and I say this all the time, relationships are done intuitively, in intuitive space. And this is the problem with most relationships nowadays, because they are done from the intellect. Okay? This is why we're not able to have intimacy, because intimacy is going to come from a heart-centered core of your being, authentic self, from your authenticity, from vulnerability, which is at the core of your being in intuitive space. Okay? It is a beingness. It is a beingness. You don't think about who you're being. You just are being 100% raw, and you're being so vulnerable about everything about you. So when you have an intellectually based relationship only, you're only connecting on a self-image to self-image, which is not really who you are, which is why it's really challenging to actually have any real connection, because you're connecting to an image. You're not connecting to a real core, authentic core of your beingness, self, like who you truly are. Who you truly are. Oh my God. It's like being in a partnership with some sort of photo. It's not real. It's a photo. It doesn't have any life in it. It is just like a robot. Beep up, beep up. There's no depth. I'm not saying that robots can't have depth. Okay. I'm not saying that. However, in a generalized sense, I'm saying that human beings and consciousness itself has emotions. It is a very distinctive part of who we are. Emotions, feelings. It is the core of every desire comes from a feeling, not of a thought like, oh, I want to have this. I want to have this because I want to feel like this. That's why we desire things, because we want to feel. Ironically, we live in a society that suppresses our feelings and that does not encourage, cultivate, or nurture the development of our emotions and our emotional state and our emotional intelligence, and understanding what emotions are all about. How can we use them? What are they there for? What are they saying? What are the messages that benefits us into our personal growth through emotions. In all of my programs, private mentorships or group coaching mentorships, that is key training. Emotional intelligence is key training. And it's done through my MoveBit alchemy method. It's powerful because you're set for life. You're set for life and from generations to generations, because you get to role model that to your children if you're going to have children. And so it's a powerful training. So when people are in these intellectually based, need-based relationships, it's really hard to connect. It's really hard to have that level of intimacy because they're not authentic with each other. They're not vulnerable with each other. And so it gets me to the point of vulnerability is key into intimacy. Being at the core of your self-authenticity, which is in intuitive space, when you're in intuitive space, is key in intimacy. So both vulnerability, authenticity, it's heart-centered. It's coming from, that's a metaphor, by the way. Okay, we're just saying it comes from the feeling space, from intuitive space, from a processing system that it is designed to serve us to process this information that we call feelings and emotions, that we call authenticity, that we call the core of our being. Like, we open the gates to the truth of who we are without any judgment. And this is why people have a hard time getting intimate with each other, because if they think, if I show who I truly am, I'm going to be judged. I'm not going to be accepted. I'm not going to be liked. I'm not going to belong. No one's going to love me. So I'm just going to shut it and put this facade that is quote unquote attractive self-image. That is a very intellectual way of approaching expression and relationship. That's why there cannot be any connection with something that intuitively all of us, we feel the authenticity or the lack thereof. All of us, no matter what I'm saying to you right now is, okay, I'm using language, I'm telling you something, it's coming through, you're processing this information. But what's most powerful that's happening right now is my energetic or my information transfer from the core of my being on a non-physical level into you, into your consciousness in the core of your being on a non-physical level. That's the gold right there. It's the presence of each other in each other's essence, core of our being, that is actually connecting or not, that is interacting or not, that is creating intimacy or not. This is why it's so important to focus on developing your intuition and operate out of this authentic space, core of who you are, core of your being. Be who you are, regardless of what people think, because the thinking and the judgment is going to come from the intellectual process, which is not for us to live all the time there. Has a purpose. It serves a purpose, but not to live out of all the time, not to express the core of who we are. It's to use it for a particular function. It's like saying, I'm going to use my broom that I broom my house to brush my hair. It's a different kind of brush. Brush the floor, brush my hair. It's very similar, but it has a different function. And that's what intuition and the intellect, it's separate. We need both, because I got to clean my house and I have to brush my hair. I love that. I love that metaphor. Okay. Life is just one big metaphor, isn't it? When Jesse and I became parents, there was a phase, like a time that, sex slowed down. It was a different phase in our lives. There was so much going on. And what really kept us so solid and connected was the level of intimacy that we have, because we are so at the core of our being authentic to each other. We're so open with each other. We talk about everything. We don't hold any secrets. We know everything, the dark, the light, the shadows, the nasty, the greatness, the everything, everything. He's my best friend. I can tell him anything, anything. No judgment. We are there for each other. Like, we want to know everything about each other. It is in that knowing everything that we're building the intimacy. That is intimate. Like, sharing all of our data streams, your consciousness with each other, that is deep intimacy. Deep intimacy. That no lack of sex is going to ever break that. Sex, that's another story. And it's amazing. And sex is beautiful. Making love is, amazing. However, it's another story. We're talking about a different, we're talking apples and oranges here. Yes, we can have a fruit bowl and eat a fruit parfait, which, by the way, is one of my husband's favorites. But an apple is an apple and an orange is an orange. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Sex and intimacy. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So it's in this friendship that we sit with each other. We're able to hold space for each other in our darkest, in our deepest emotions and feelings that come through, in our wounds, in our insecurities, in the things that we don't understand about ourselves, right? In the stuff that people want to hide because, no, God forbid, people know that I make mistakes and that I am not perfect. No, this is beautiful. This is real. This is what we need in order to create intimacy. We need that. And we can do this with our children and create beautiful intimacy with our children. Hold space for what they feel and let them know that there is space, safe space in our environment to hold them, to hold ourselves, to hold each other, my husband and I, to hold each other in this container of 100% zero judgment and full acceptance of your being, of everything that you feel and that you are. Everything. Creating this container is not ever about making someone feel ashamed for speaking up or judging for what people are feeling or who they are. That would be the intellect coming in, being like, da, 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 I'm here to judge. I'm here. It's like I see little characters in my mind, like, da, 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 da. Here comes intuition of la, 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 la. And then here comes the intellect, like, what's up, guys? Let's get down to business. All right, what's that? Who? Where? P.S. I love the intellect, and it is very powerful and useful for particular things. You just got to know when to use it. And then you got to know when to use the intuition. It is a symbiotic relationship. Again, relationships. Everything is relationships. Relationships is where the gold is. Okay? So in order to have a level of intimacy, we have to create this container that is safe. A safe container with zero judgment, with zero pointing the fingers, where you're not going to take that information and later on point the finger and be like, because you said no. Safe container to be vulnerable, to be authentic, to express, to speak, to share all of yourself, like your consciousness, your data stream. Okay, your data stream. It's interesting because now that I hear myself saying it, intimacy is not about sharing your body. It's about sharing your truth, your consciousness, all of the departments within your being that generally you keep hidden to others because it is so because it's so vulnerable. Because it's so vulnerable. And you need to be held when you bring this level of vulnerability with your partner. That creates intimacy. When you're able to hold your partner in that container of safety, of listening, of expression, 100% intuitive, because when you're in the intuitive space, there is no judgment. It's just expression. It's just feeling. It is what it is. The rawness is there. This is beautiful. It's powerful. It's beautiful. It creates connection, deep connection. And this is important to have for a thriving long-term relationship, that it continues to grow in strength, in joy, in love, and not just with your partner, but with your children too. Wow, imagine if we all did this. What kind of world, what kind of society would we live in? What kind of beings would develop out of this? What kind of race of human beingness, of human consciousness would we have? This is exciting. Yes, it makes me want to dance. Why is my first response to want to dance? Because the main practice in movement alchemy is dance meditation. And it gets me and it drops me into intuitive space like that. And so it's the feeling space. And so I'm very well versed in the tuned in. It is my practice. I just automatically will dance and will flow because that's my meditation. That's my meditation. Okay. In another episode, we can talk about sex, and I'll go into maybe 2 different episodes, because sex in the dating world is very different than sex in marriage or sex when you are a parent. So maybe we can go through all the phases in one episode and see all the different stages, so that we can see that, hey, this is actually common and why this happens and how do we navigate that. But in the next episode, I'm going to talk about how to hold space the best.